This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. We're following breaking news. The Atlanta police officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks has just turned himself in. Garrett Rolfe faces felony murder and 10 other charges. A second police officer charged with aggravated assault in the case turned himself in earlier and was released. Also, President Trump in turmoil, continuing to deny coronavirus cases in the United States are on the rise as he faces scathing rebukes from former National Security Advisor John Bolton and suffers a second major loss this week over at the U.S. Supreme Court, where justices ruled 5-4 to block him from ending the DACA or Dreamers program. And there's breaking news also in the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. death toll has now topped 118,000 people as cases rise in 23 states and surge in 10 states, including Florida, which is showing some signs it potentially could be the next epicenter. Let's begin this hour in Atlanta. CNN's Victor Blackwell is on the scene for us. Victor, both officers charged in the death of Rayshard Brooks have now turned themselves in.
Yes, and Wolf, one of those officers will have the opportunity to sleep in his own bed tonight. The other will sleep here as the Fulton County District Attorney has requested that the officer who pulled the trigger be held without bail. But we know that both arrests have contributed to this massive deflation of morale within the Atlanta Police Department. Tonight, the former officer who pulled the trigger, killing Rayshard Brooks, has turned himself in and will spend the night behind bars. Garrett Rolfe surrendered to authorities late this afternoon. The other officer charged, Devin Brosnan, surrendered earlier today. He spent only a short time in jail before bonding out. His attorney explained that Officer Brosnan will not be a witness for the state's case.
He's not a witness for the state. He's not a witness for the defense. He's a witness. He's simply going to tell the truth about what happened.
On Wednesday, Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard announced 11 charges, including felony murder against former Officer Rolfe, and 3 charges, including aggravated assault against Officer Brosnan in Brooks' death.
Their actions really reflected other kinds of emotions.
Tonight, there are growing concerns about morale and staff shortages hanging over the Atlanta Police Department. One 24-year veteran of the department who did not want to be identified told CNN, "I've never seen this low morale. Everybody is just mentally, emotionally tapped out. I think it's going to get worse with call-outs."
Across the country, morale is down with police departments, and I think ours is down tenfold. This has been a very tough few weeks in Atlanta.
The police department acknowledges a higher than usual number of call-outs with the incoming shift. But it says that it has enough resources to maintain operations and remain able to respond to incidents throughout the city. For the first time, we're hearing from key witnesses, including one man who authorities say was in a car struck by one of the officer's bullets.
What I witnessed was real horrific, and I wouldn't wish that on nobody who's trying to visit a city.
In an interview filmed 4 months before his death, Rayshard Brooks reflected on his experience with the criminal justice system and life after incarceration.
Me going through that process, it hardened me. It hardened me at a point, to like, hey, I have to have my guard up because the world is cruel. It took me through seeing different things in the system. It just makes you hardened to a point. I'm not the type of person to give up, and I'm going to keep going until I make it to where I want to be.
And we've learned that there will be a public viewing for Rayshard Brooks on Monday from 3 to 7 Eastern at Ebenezer Baptist Church. You'll recognize that as being the church where Dr. King was co-pastor until his death in 1968. His celebration of life ceremony will be on Tuesday at 1 Eastern, and more on the sick outs. We've understood from a union representative who's telling CNN that some officers have refused to leave the precinct, at least last night, unless another officer needed help. The Atlanta Police Foundation is responding, offering $500 to each and every Atlanta police officer. They say it's just a thank you. The officers should expect to see that money by tomorrow. Wolf.
All right, very interesting indeed. All right, Victor, thank you. Victor Blackwell in Atlanta for us. Joining now the District Attorney for Atlanta and Fulton County, Paul Howard. Mr. Howard, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got a lot going on. As you know, obviously, you announced 11 charges against that police officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks, including felony murder and 3 charges against the other officer involved. Critics say you overcharged. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'd just say that's just not true. What we did is we charged based upon the facts. When you are a prosecutor, particularly in an urban city, that's a phrase that we often hear, that we overcharge. We have charged, marks our 39th case, I believe, that involved police misconduct. We've charged cases involving 9 instances where someone has been killed as a result of police misconduct. We've charged the same offenses, and I just think that is an untrue criticism that these officers were overcharged.
If that police officer, Garrett Rolfe, is convicted, he potentially could either get life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death sentence. Is that what you want?
Well, I think it's clear that we're not asking for the death penalty. We simply cited that because statutorily that is one of the possible sentences, but we're not seeking the death penalty. I don't think anyone rationally expected that we would ask for the death penalty in this case.
So you want life without the possibility of parole?
Well, what we want is that he would be found guilty of his conduct, and what the sentence might be, we'll talk about that later on.
Let's talk about an important detail. You put out a still photo that shows this officer, Rolfe, kicking Rayshard Brooks while he was on the ground after being shot. The union representing Atlanta police officers says it hasn't seen the video of this. Will you be releasing more context video as opposed to a still photo?
I'm not really, if you got a question for me, I'll answer it, but I'm really not answering any questions from the police union. I would prefer that maybe if you had a question, I would answer it, but I'm just not trading questions with the police union.
All right, I understand that. Will you be releasing, this is my question, will you be releasing video of that incident?
What we're doing is we've got some ethical obligations ourselves regarding releasing that because Rolfe is still a defendant. So my staff is discussing whether or not we would release that videotape. We haven't made a decision yet. And when we do, we will certainly let the public know.
There was a little bit of confusion yesterday when you said that Brosnan, the other police officer, has become what you call a state's witness. His lawyer later said that's not the case. I wonder if you could clarify this for us.
Well, there really wasn't any confusion with me. We spoke with Officer Brosnan. We spoke with his lawyer, in fact, probably 30 or 40 minutes before we made our presentation. And I stick by what I said on yesterday.
The Don Samuel, the lawyer for Brosnan, said that Devin is not a state's witness. He is a witness. He is not a cooperating witness. He has not agreed to be a witness. He has not agreed to plead guilty. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, we never said he planned to plead guilty. As I said, we've got a statement from him. What I explained yesterday is what we're sticking to. I've known Mr. Samuel for a long time, got a chance to speak with him in detail about what his client planned to say. In fact, the statement that we read over during the presentation, Attorney Samuels helped craft that statement. I understand because of this situation that the officer might be under a lot of pressure to do something different than what he indicated, and I can understand that. But we're sticking to what we said on yesterday.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI as it's called, said it wasn't informed that you would be announcing these charges yesterday. Why not inform them? Why did you decide not to wait to see the results of their investigation of this shooting?
Wolf, I think that people ought to understand the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and in the state of Georgia, there is no law regarding who investigates cases. So the Georgia Bureau of Investigations is not legislatively involved with this case. They became involved because the city of Atlanta asked that they join in the investigation. So we have been talking to the agents from the GBI. My view is if they didn't know we were going to make a statement, they would be some of the few people in the country who didn't know about it, because we certainly announced it to everybody else. In fact, I've been kind of mystified that they released a statement about us not consulting with them. I really don't see the purpose of it. And the district attorney is the person who makes the decision as to whether or not the case goes forward. And that's what we did on yesterday.
You know, there are some people are accusing you of having political implications in all of this, political ramifications. You're up for re-election. What do you say to those critics?
Well, we charged our first case against a police officer in 2002, and that was the same exact comment that the union made in 2002. It is the same criticism we have had in every police case, particularly no matter how important the case was. The more important or significant the case, the more the accusation was that it was political. This is nothing new, but we charged it based upon the facts. And I'm hoping that the people in this country will get away from the little criticisms and understand the broad picture. This is a 27-year-old man who's dead. He didn't have to die. These shootings are continuing to happen all over our country. And I think what those protesters in all over the country, they're not demonstrating because they thought Paul Howard did something political. They're demonstrating because citizens in our country continue to die, and a high number of those citizens are African Americans.
One very quick question, Mr. Howard, before I let you go. I've been told you've been getting threats, all sorts of nasty and even awful threats. Do you want to tell us about that? Do you want to comment at all on that?
Well, we've been receiving threats, and I think it's important for people to understand that much of what has gone on historically with police shootings is definitely, and Wolf, I'm sorry, we've got somebody who decided to start the construction of the courthouse.
It's all right, we can hear
you. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. All right, go ahead. We'll hear you. I'll do that. I just want to make sure that, in the face of these threats, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get them to halt it for a moment because I can't even hear you.
All right, I just want you to be okay in the face of these threats.
Yes, go ahead. Now, I think they've slowed down.
You want to just tell us about these threats? If not, we can move on.
Yeah, well, I've received some threats. The threats seem to be racially based. And what I was saying is, if you look historically at the deaths that I referred to earlier, the deaths that we've seen recently, there's certainly a racial connection. And that same connection is evident in some of the threats that I've received. And I can say to those people who are threatening me in my office, we won't be intimidated. We're going to continue to do what we think is right. If a police officer is involved with misconduct, we're going to go forward with it. But if the police officer is not involved in misconduct, we want to, with the same attitude, tell the community that the officers were right.
Paul Howard is the Fulton County District Attorney in Atlanta. Good luck over there. Mr. Howard, thanks so much for joining us, and be careful in the face specifically of these threats. We appreciate your joining us.
And Wolf, and the next time, hopefully, we won't have construction going on during the conversation.
Stuff happens. That's the nature of the business. All right, thank you very, very much. Up next, the Trump presidency in turmoil, battered by the pandemic, protests, rebukes from former aides, and now a second major Supreme Court loss this week. Plus, a record number of new coronavirus cases in Florida, now poised possibly to become the country's next epicenter. We'll be right back.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, Brought to you by Capital Group, home of American funds.
Can I find an investment firm with a truly long-term view that's been through multiple market cycles for over 85 years? With Capital Group, I can. Talk to your financial professional or consultant for investment risks and information.
Today, when you bank, shop, or browse online, you're more exposed than ever to cyber criminals. That's why Norton and LifeLock are now one. Get all-in-one protection on Norton.com.
Hey, can I
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. Safe driver, save 40%. Guys.
Check it out. Safe drivers save 40%.
Safe driver, save 40%.
Safe drivers save 40%. That's safe drivers save 40%.
It is. That's safe drivers save 40%.
It's right there.
It's him. He's here.
He's right here. Hi.
Hi.
Hey. That's totally him.
That's him.
That's totally the guy.
Safe drivers do save 40%. Click or call for a quote today.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
When you're 50 plus, the important part isn't the number, it's the plus. Switch your wireless service to Consumer Cellular, and these are just some of the pluses you can expect. Excellent reliability. We use the nation's largest premium networks. Plus, maximum value. You can get talk, text, and data for just $20 a month. Plus, superior customer support. We've been ranked #1 by J.D. Power 8 times in a row. Plus, total flexibility. You can change your plan anytime. It all adds up to amazing value. See how much you can save at ConsumerCellular.com.
Look, this isn't my first rodeo. And let me tell you something. I wouldn't be here if I thought reverse mortgages took advantage of any American senior. Or worse, that it was some way to take your home. It's just a loan designed for older homeowners, and it's helped over 1 million Americans. A reverse mortgage loan isn't some kind of trick to take your home. It's a loan, like any other. Big difference is how you pay it back.
Find out how reverse mortgages really work with AAG's free no-obligation reverse mortgage guide. Eliminate monthly mortgage payments, pay bills, medical costs, and more. Call now and get your free info kit. Call 1-800-741-0177.
Other mortgages are paid each month, but with a reverse mortgage, you can pay whatever you can when it works for you. Or you can wait and pay it off in one lump sum when you leave your home.
Discover the option that's best for you. Call today and find out more in AAG's free no-obligation reverse mortgage loan guide. Access tax-free cash and stay in the home you love.
You've probably been investing in your home for years, making monthly mortgage payments, doing the right thing. And it's become your family's heart and soul. Well, that investment can give you tax-free cash just when you need it.
Learn how homeowners are strategically using a reverse mortgage loan to cover expenses, pay for health care, preserve your portfolio, and so much more.
Look, reverse mortgages aren't for everyone, but I think I've been around long enough to know what's what. I'm proud to be a part of AAG. I trust them. I think you can too.
Trust AAG for the best reverse mortgage solutions. Call 1-800-741-0177. So you can
retire better.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
Mesothelioma is all we do. For over 10 years, we have offered a free book on mesothelioma. Call 1-800-400-2802.
President Trump facing a second major U.S. Supreme Court loss in just 3 days. On top of the pandemic, ongoing protests, and scathing rebukes by former aides. Our chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, is joining us. Jim, the president and his team, they're being confronted right now by turmoil.
That's right. Well, the president is grappling with one of his worst weeks in office as he continues to spread falsehoods about the coronavirus and faces yet another former administration official and former national security advisor, John Bolton, who is describing Mr. Trump as an unfit leader. Add to that another stinging loss at the Supreme Court, and the president is not exactly delivering on his promise of so much winning. With 2020 shaping up to be a re-election nightmare, President Trump appears to be in denial when it comes to the string of crises overwhelming his administration. Take Mr. Trump's response to concerns about the coronavirus at his rally this weekend in Oklahoma.
No, because if you look, the numbers are very minuscule compared to what it was. It's dying out.
But that's not true, as the virus is spiking in states across the South and places like Florida.
The potential for the virus to take off there is very, very nerve-wracking and could have catastrophic consequences.
The president is even questioning the value of testing for the virus, telling the Wall Street Journal, "I personally think testing is overrated, even though I created the greatest testing machine in history." No wonder one of the administration's top health experts, Dr. Anthony Fauci, worries about an anti-science bias in the U.S.
One of the problems we face in the United States is that, unfortunately, there is a combination of an anti-science bias that people are, for reasons that sometimes are, inconceivable and not understandable, they just don't believe science and they don't believe authority.
Besides the virus, Mr. Trump's presidency is in a tailspin on a number of fronts, from the unrest in U.S. cities to losses at the Supreme Court to the biting comments from his own former aides like John Bolton. After the Supreme Court ruled against his administration's plans to scrap the DACA program that shields young undocumented immigrants from being deported, Mr. Trump tweeted, "Do you get the impression that the Supreme Court doesn't like me? Doesn't sound like the winning he promised voters in 2016.
We're going to win so much. You are going to get so sick and tired of winning. You're going to come to me and say, please, please, we can't win anymore."
As for Bolton, who's just the latest ex-aide to slam the president, the former national security advisor is alleging in a tell-all book that Mr. Trump sought China's help in the 2020 race and even blessed Chinese concentration camps for ethnic minority Uyghurs.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job.
The president, who once said he only hired the best people, told the Journal, "The only thing I liked about Bolton was that everybody thought he was crazy."
In terms of Bolton, he broke the law. He was a washed-up guy. I gave him a chance.
The president is also defending his Lafayette Square photo op, where he held up a Bible after protesters were pushed back with force, saying, "You have people screaming all over the place, and I didn't think it was exactly the right time to pray. So I went there, stood there, held up the Bible, talked to a few people, and then we left. I came back, and I got bad publicity." Incredibly, the president is claiming success for raising awareness about the Juneteenth holiday, dedicated to remembering the end of slavery, as that was the original date for his Tulsa rally before he postponed it, saying, "I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous." The president insists his rally will be safe.
No, we'll go there. Everyone is going to be safe. They have to be safe. They want to be safe.
And the president concedes there is a chance a small percentage of the people at his rally in Tulsa this weekend may contract the coronavirus. As it turns out, the topic of his rally did not come up at the latest meeting of the coronavirus task force, the one place where experts would have told aides to the president an indoor political event in the middle of a pandemic is a bad idea. Yeah. Wolf?
Potentially a very bad idea. All right, Jim Acosta, thank you very much. Let's get some more on all of this. Our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, is with us, and our chief legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin. His new book, by the way, look at the cover, True Crime and Misdemeanors, The Investigation of Donald Trump. Jeffrey, we'll talk about that down the road when the book comes out. But Gloria, let's start with you. You just heard Jim outline a series of losses that the president is taking in these recent days, from his failures to respond to the protests, the coronavirus pandemic, the U.S. Supreme Court losses, rebukes from insiders. Is this one of the president's worst weeks yet?
Well, there have been lots of bad weeks for this president. I think this may well be. I mean, what we are looking at, Wolf, if you take a step back, we are looking at a president in total denial about what is occurring in the country, not only in terms of the debate on race, but also in terms of COVID and what is going on with more and more Americans contracting the virus. And in the same week, he is also a president whose former national security advisor has said that he is unfit for office, and his poll numbers are tumbling. He is bleeding support among white suburban women, which is a key constituency for him to win. More than half of independent voters now, Wolf, say that they're going to vote for Joe Biden. So if you look at this week, and say, wait a minute, this is a president who is in deep denial and, by the way, keeps making mistakes. Lots of his wounds, Wolf, are completely self-inflicted. And so you have to wonder if he has any sense of the way the country is really feeling about this when he keeps reaching back to the 50s and the 60s and talking about law and order. That is not the discussion a majority of this country wants to have right now.
That's an important point. You know, Jeffrey, within 1 week, within a few days, actually, the U.S. Supreme Court has now handed down 2 major blows to the Trump administration, protecting Dreamers and the LGBTQ community. What did the court decide today, and just how big of a loss is this for the president?
Well, it's a big loss for the president, but it's an even bigger win for the 700,000 Dreamers in this country. Those are the young people who were brought to this country as children illegally, but people who have no criminal record. You're not allowed to be a DACA recipient if you have a criminal record. And that's the only country, the only place they've ever known. And they were subject to deportation if this case went the other way. Now, this is not a guarantee that they are safe for all time. What the Supreme Court said was the Trump administration didn't follow the proper procedures in revoking the DACA protections that President Obama initiated. So he gave them the Chief Justice Roberts gave the Trump administration a roadmap to do it the right way. So if the president is reelected, this is likely what's going to happen. But for the time being, the 700,000 Dreamers are safe.
You know, Gloria, in the face of these disappointments, the president has resorted to his habit of lashing out on Twitter, including asking this. Do you get the impression that the Supreme Court doesn't like me? What does that tell you about his outlook as he's supposed to be steering the nation through major crises?
First of all, of course, Wolf, as we know, with President Trump, everything is always about him, number one. And if you read anything in the John Bolton book, what he said is that everything Trump does is about securing a win in the next election. So instead of talking about the Supreme Court and what it decided, he personalized it because that is clearly a way, he believes, of motivating his base to get out and vote and say, look, the Supreme Court doesn't like me. So you know what I'm going to do if I'm reelected? If somebody dies from the Supreme Court, for example, or leaves the Supreme Court, I'm going to put in justices there that like me and that will, he believes, do what he wants. Now, I would also offer the obvious, which is that he can't remove people from the Supreme Court. So that is his problem.
All right, Gloria, thank you. Jeffrey, thanks to you as well. Hold your thought, Jeffrey. We'll get back to you down the road. We have an important programming note for our viewers. The former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, will join me here in the Situation Room to talk about his new bombshell book. That will be next Wednesday in our 6 p.m. Eastern hour. Coming up, a record number of new coronavirus cases in Florida is stoking fears that the state potentially could become the epicenter for the pandemic here in the United States. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is responding to rising cases in his state by mandating face coverings in public.
For avocado, organic is more than a label.
Toe fungus is tough to kill.
$19.99 or call 1-800-575. Order right now and get free shipping. Flawless.
Cover it up. That's what I did when I started losing my hair. Now I use Keeps, the easiest way for me to keep my hair. Keeps sends me clinically proven treatments that can't stop my hair loss, which means no more covering up. Go to Keeps.com to learn more.
Hand sanitizer has become more important in today's new normal, but many companies cut cost using poor quality ingredients that smell terrible and leave your hands dried out. Protect your hands with Dr. Bright's hand sanitizer made with CDC recommended ingredients, and our hospital grade formula can fight germs and disease. And thousands of 5-star reviews prove our quality, from how effective and how good it feels on the hands to our fair prices. To order Dr. Bright sanitization products, go to drbright.com now. drbrite.com.
A new CNN Global Town Hall. The coronavirus pandemic. Amid protests and reopenings, it's not over yet. Join Anderson Cooper and Dr. Sanjay Gupta for the latest on how to stay safe. Coronavirus, facts and fears. Live tonight, 8 Eastern.
I've spent my entire career fighting for the working class, against corporate greed and political corruption. And I'm not done yet.
Qualified, prepared. Vote Chris Harris for a Supreme Court justice with integrity.
2018, Amy McGrath lost a winnable House race. Then, she supported putting Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. Now, she's running as a pro-Trump politician. I'm Mike Breuer, and the people of Kentucky cannot afford 6 more years of Mitch McConnell. I'm a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I've taught in our public schools, and I'm a farmer. I'm not Washington, D.C.'s candidate. I'm Kentucky's candidate. I'm the real Democrat, and I approve this message because I'm the only candidate who can defeat Mitch McConnell.
For 25 years, Chris Harris has been fighting for working families in courtrooms across Kentucky at every level, including the Supreme Court. Qualified, prepared. Vote Chris Harris for a Supreme Court justice with integrity.
I'm Suzanne Malveaux in Los Angeles, and this is CNN.
Troubling new coronavirus trends in Florida are raising major concerns among public health experts. CNN's Nick Watt has details.
For the first time, Florida just logged more than 3,000 new COVID-19 cases in a single day.
In Pinellas County, our fastest growing positive test category is ages 25 to 34.
With Florida's younger beach and bar-going crowd, plus a sizable senior population.
The potential for the virus to take off there is very, very nerve-wracking and could have catastrophic consequences.
And 3/4 of Florida's adult ICU beds are already occupied. Average new case counts are now climbing in nearly half our states.
We didn't complete that social distancing period that we needed to do, and now we're seeing this very sharp acceleration.
But in Texas, the governor won't give mayors the power to make masks mandatory for all.
Well, down in those parts of the country, you don't see mask wearing because they just haven't experienced the same level of death and disease from COVID as parts of the Northeast.
Florida once made incoming New Yorkers quarantine on arrival.
Fast forward 100 days. Now we're afraid they're bringing the virus to our state.
New York now mulling its own quarantine order for anyone incoming. Good news, New Yorkers can very soon dine out again on the sidewalk. Bad news, White House Task Force doyen Dr. Anthony Fauci now thinks football may not happen this year. Make no mistake, this is no easy task, replied the NFL. We will make adjustments as necessary to meet the public health environment as we prepare to play the 2020 season as scheduled. Meanwhile, the man tapped to lead the White House vaccine effort, now bullish about that ambitious end-of-year goal.
What I thought was an aspirational goal 30 days ago when I was announced by the president, I've recently come to the conclusion that it is more and more likely to occur.
And the president himself thinks it's pretty much all over.
If you look, the numbers are very minuscule compared to what it was. It's dying out.
That is a lie.
It's not true. It's hard to see how one could arrive at that conclusion when you look at the data that we have been talking about.
Remember I said Florida just hit a record high for new cases in a single day? Well, in the past week, so did Texas, Oregon, Oklahoma, Alabama, Arizona, and California. And Wolf, as of about 3 hours ago, masks are now mandatory for most of the 40 million people here in California whenever they are in a risky situation. That could be riding a bus or even waiting for a bus. If you're outside and 6 feet away from people, you can, like I'm doing now, take your mask off. If you listen to the experts, they say pretty much all of us should be doing this pretty much everywhere, but Wolf, we're not.
That's a major development out in California. All right, Nick Watt, thank you very much. Much more after a quick break, including the Miami mayor, Francis Suarez. He's standing by live there. You see him. We'll discuss when we come back.
If you're wondering why I said woohoo when I heard that football season may not happen, that is some wonderful news. I was thrilled to hear that football season may not happen. I cannot stand football. I have had some seizures. I would rather have a seizure every day of my life than to hear about football. But that is not the purpose for this video. The purpose for this video is to show you how soon the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus, could come. I repeat, the purpose for this video is to show you how soon Jesus Christ could come. But I was thrilled to hear when football season may not happen this year, because I would rather have a seizure every day of my life than to hear about that sport.
Well, now with KardioMobile, it is possible to know what's going on with your heart. KardioMobile is the FDA-cleared personal EKG device, which allows you to take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. KardioMobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. KardioMobile can also tell you when your heart rhythm is normal, giving you daily peace of mind. Check your heart's health every day with KardioMobile. KardioMobile is now available for just $89. Get yours today at KardioMobile.com or Amazon.
New coronavirus cases are surging right now in Florida, leading some experts to worry the state might become the next epicenter of the crisis. We're joined now by the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez. Mayor Suarez, thanks so much for joining us. Florida reported the highest number of new cases in a single day. Many of the state's cases centered in your beautiful city of Miami. Does the data you're seeing right now confirm this fear that potentially Florida could be the next epicenter of this virus?
You know, the data is extremely concerning. I think for the last 8 days, Florida has hit a record high. The high water mark when we implemented a stay-at-home order was 1,300 cases. That was a high water mark for a very long time, and we shut down our entire economy for that high water mark. We just had 3,200 cases yesterday, so that's almost 3 times the high water mark. Obviously, in the city of Miami, we're extremely concerned about what we're seeing. And we're going to do everything that we can to prevent